And seems like we are back. Are we? In a second. We are. Hello, every one of you, every single one, and each and every one of you, coming back for more disaster, more mayhem. Cause, oh yeah, I got some ready for today. First of all, welcome to Six Oscillators, where guitars and synthesizers collide. The show for all those people that like guitars and synthesizers and guitars, or hanging synthesizers or guitars, or anything that is not one box or the other, like me. Well, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Full disclosure, as usual, no piece of musical gear you're gonna see, hear, or suffer tonight in this show was ever provided by any of the manufacturers or any merchant whatsoever. It's all my obsession through months and months, because I can't even say years and years, months and months of eBay digging in and out and finding and kind of hoarding, if you wish. But hey, we all know what's the right amount of synthstars, synthesizers, guitars, because it applies for both. So current amount of synthstars plus one. So there's always room for one more in the family. Well, what is this about? What are we talking about? Once again, I keep exploring the Behringer Pitch Perfect 1, PP1 for the people in the know who already know what am I talking about. A little Eurorack module that is very nice, although some might call lacking, interface or a step into the Eurorack world from your guitar world. It's voltage to CV/MIDI, so it changes audio into either control voltage for your Eurorack, 5-pin in for your traditional modules, or 5-pin hardware, and USB for interaction with your laptop, with your computers. Laptop in this case, so which, by the way, today I'm gonna be pushing almost to the limit. There's tons of stuff going on, and I don't dare to manifest my full control of it. So it's gonna be fun. Basically, I dare you to have a drinking game. Everything I say something wrong, do something wrong, or something doesn't work as I intended, please take a drink and thank me in the morning or on Sunday. I don't know. So, here I'm coming from raining, because today has been drizzling. I guess the same way that the Eskimo have, I think, is 100 words for snow, for types of snow. Here in UK, we might have more than 10 words for rain and types of rain. And drizzle is one of them. It's been raining, but not too hard, but not too light. Enough to be annoying. So it's 11 local time, 11 p.m. for those who like that system. 2300 hours, which is the system I like, because there's no confusion about it. Every hour of the day has only one way to say it, not two. And trying to broadcast to whoever might want to listen now or in the future, because obviously you can't listen in the past. I am in the past. You might be in the future when you watch this, if you do. Cool. Once again, PP1. Behringer Pitch Perfect 1. Very short recap, and even a little longer, mea culpa. Last episode I tried to show how it would interact with VST plugins, as in I was meant to use the USB connection, as I'm gonna attempt again today, but just to be able to use your guitar as the trigger for those VST instruments. I managed to do so, although not through the USB connection, but through the 5-pin DIN, which was working. I assume the USB connection was also working, just my computer wouldn't cope with that and wouldn't allow it to happen. And obviously, since it's the same computer is holding the broadcast, I cannot reboot it to make it happen. You know, Windows, huh? Lovely, lovely technology. So, and out of moronic incompetence, because there's no other way to describe it, I forgot to send the VST audio to the broadcast. So you heard me talking and blinky blanking in the guitar. You heard the microphone on the guitar strings or bass strings. I think it was the bass last quick. But you could not hear the actual behavior of the synthesizer and all the tweakings that I was explaining at the same time about the pitch bend, the quantization, etc., etc. Mea culpa. That was my mistake. I'll do my best, but can't promise anything. Never to do it again. So, bad Eddie. That's me. Bad froze. So, what's in for today? So, let's see. Sadly, I tried to make work OBS, but we all know that is very temperamental, and on an already quite overworked, over-saturated computer. Just give me a second. No, that should not happen. I'm hearing something weird, and I'm trying to find out why is this happening. Well, this shouldn't make a difference. Yeah, I'm watching my digital mixer, because also the broadcast is handled by a digital mixer. Ooh. When I do this, sometimes it corrects the camera. Yeah. So, I don't know what might be the deal. Oh well. So, I try to make work OBS so I can show you all things at the same time, but seems, I assume nobody really wants. Oh, thank you. Now it's working the light sensitivity. Finally. So since I didn't manage, and I really didn't want to push this poor laptop, although it's kind of new, but it's not really mighty, even further. So I just decided that I'm gonna be swapping cameras. So whenever I show the Eurorack, you won't be able to see me. Yay! Oops! Yay! And the other way around, when you see me, you won't be able, because it is here, my little case, my accessory case, which is meant to be complementary to my big case with my Behringer 2600. The one I proved not to be able to control neither. Yeah, that was another big train wreck 2 or 3 episodes ago. That's me. So, let me just, once again, it's distracting me because something's weird with the sound. Give me a second. 1 2 1 2. Hello, 1 2. Nope, it's internal. Cool. So, let's do that. So It might work, it might not. Let's give it a shot. So when I do this, you should be able to see the case. Yay! Oh my god, now it's on the piss. I'm not gonna fix that. I'm very sorry. And that's my today's accessory webcam, because I don't have any fancy cameras that would do actual real image with actual real good quality. It's the one doing the distortion on the image. Cool. So let me remind you, and for those who don't know, this little red guy, this is the Pitch Perfect PP1. Let me see if I can, just for a minute. I don't think nobody is around. Nope, not yet. No, doesn't matter. I know you'll come. So I'm gonna do this for a second. Coolio Julia. And yeah, this little red guy, he is the, oh sorry, Perfect Pitch, not Pitch Perfect. Perfect Pitch PP1. I'm gonna uncable it for a second. At least the ones I dare to, because I've been trying. I'm not gonna mess with the USB. IT people know why. Because it might, I was working a minute ago, so it might stop working. That's why I rather don't. Cool. Do I have... this might do. How big is this? So, what are the parts of the PP1? Very, very shortly, we got the USB connector, 5-pin in, input gain, this button here, gate sensitivity, as in how strong of a gate, strong voltage, is gonna get out of the audio signal. Then these little switches around here, that is high impedance selector, in case you're using any guitar, basically, passive, non preamp, with no electronics type of guitar. With my active basses, it thanks, or it allows, it behaves better when the high impedance is turned off in low impedance, as it should. A little filter in here in the middle, a low cut filter on and off. We can check what's the cut frequency, but I think it's kind of high, around 150 hertz, something like that. We're gonna check it in a second, because we're gonna do another run on the manual just to remind everything. And this third switch is for the bend, for the pitch bend. Give me a second. Yeah, it's a little blocked. But you can see, yeah, there's just bend, and there is an off position, which is right now. There's a 1 and there's a 2. That means semitones of pitch bend whenever the input will detect a pitch variation, as in a continuous pitch variation. And that is most, as I tried to explain that the last episode, is mostly applicable to the MIDI connections, which are the 5-pin in out and the USB in and out. Okay, because the band range is handling the pitch bend digital MIDI message. It's not quantizing, it's not having any effect on the CV, on the control voltage. In a way of speaking, the control voltage, which is part of these other three connectors here, which is a line out, which is the signal after the preamp, the signal that comes into the input. And I'm trying to be generic because let me remind you that in this input you can input any commercial line level monophonic signal, any guitar level, passive guitar, active guitar, or microphones through the XLR connection, since it's a combi jack. That's why I'm trying to be generic. So whatever signal comes in after the preamp and the detection and everything, the sound would be output through this line out, which is kind of strong, by the way. It's not on the weak side. The other two outputs would be a CV output, which is after the conversion of the signal, of the audio signal, and a gate out, which technically should follow the attack on your instruments. Each new note should trigger a gate, and one gate only, since let's remember that the perfect pitch is monophonic, in the sense that it can only convert, transform, codify one note at a time. If you try to give it more than one note, more than one pitch that is strong enough to be detected, as in not just harmonics on the same note, but distinctive pitches at the same time, it will basically go a little cuckoo and try to play all those different pitches in a succession, kind of trying to create an arpeggio out of it. Problem is, if you play more than one note at a time, for instance, on your guitar, you know that the decay is gonna go roughly out at the same time, so he's not gonna be able to decide which one to play on a logical order or on a harmonic order, because it's just following the strongest harmonic, the strongest signal. So it goes a little more, it sounds way more like sample a hold out of noise. Very kind of. And finally, the last output that this the Pitch Perfect one is a drive-through, which is technically, although it's on a monophonic jack, it's a link, unprocessed, unamplified, just whatever you put in the input comes out on an unbalanced. Ideally, for the case that you're gonna be, if you're gonna be using as an input source, you're gonna be using a guitar or a bass guitar or any instrument with a line out, with an instrument level signal out through a cable, but you want to process the original, the sound of that guitar through its own set of either effects, modelers, rack units, you name it, or just a typical guitar amplifier, because you want your guitar signal to be processed properly and have a nice tone on top of whatever you control, CV, Eurorack, or MIDI wise. So that's the hardware. Back to me for a little second. It won't be long, don't worry. Because it does a weekly thing, at least on my side. Because Let's get out of here. Let's do this. I'm gonna show you. I just gonna go for a brief second. Here. Here. And in fact, let me get it here. Can I? Okay, not yet. Yes. Give me a second. No, that's not what I want. Okay, let's try this. Here we go. Yes, that's what I want. Perfect. So, why I'm going back to this, because there's a little thing that I think I believe is important. Let me try to. Okay. No. I'm trying to zoom. It's not letting me. Why is it going on? I don't know what's going on. So, here. Oh, I got a pointer. Awesome. Why I am going back to this is because it's something I learned kind of the hard way. In one of the shows, I might even mention that the USB could also be an audio interface. As in, the same job it would do with this line out connection, would it do it out of the USB? Oh God, no, it doesn't. And that I learned after finally carefully reading the manual, which says USB socket can be used both to output USB MIDI derived from the audio input, and for firmware updates it will also accept MIDI input and convert to CV gate output. So, what the heck does that mean? Well, apart from the obvious words, means that yes, it's an in and an out, but no audio is gonna be transferred through it, just MIDI out and MIDI in. Okay, what does that mean? So, whatever I plug it's not doing it. Great. So whatever I plug in my input, guitar, vocals, kalimba, electric kalimba, anything with a pickup, a piezo pickup, or a microphone pickup, any type of voltage sound capturing thingy, will be detected, amplitude followed, pitch, detected, identified, sampled, and triggered, as in, sorry, and gate triggered. And it would trigger a gate every time it goes from nothing to sound, to a specific amount of sound, as I'm going to show in a minute. And what it's going to do with that info? First thing it's meant to do is to send the pitch information, as in CV out, as in volt per octave quantized, I'm going to say, although it could be out of tune, obviously, but split it in 12, just that's what an octave means. Each jump of 1 volt gets split in 12ths of a volt, which it identifies all 12 semitones of the standard occidental diatonic scale or range, the chromatic scale. And the action or inaction of volume coming in would be sending a gate out, not a trigger, but a gate, because it will remain open, as in positive voltage, for as long as the system detects the guitar keep ringing, because that's what this threshold gate and gain controls are for. Because if the system doesn't hear the source, it's never going to be able to do anything with it, so it's just going to stop. It's going to shut off or shut down the gate, and it's going to not move anymore the CV. And at the same time, it's going to take that pitch, gate, and dynamic information, and it's going to codify it into digital MIDI language, right? Not that there's any analog MIDI. MIDI was always digital, but it was always a computer language. So it's always digital. And it's going to be on real time outputting that signal through the 5-pin in and through the USB socket simultaneously. As in, guitar comes in, goes through all the gubbins and the guts, and comes out through the 5-pin in and out through the USB. Obviously, technically, you're going to be connecting your USB. I'm old school. Slave unit, which is the perfect pitch, to your master unit, which is going to be your computer. So it's going to be sending MIDI information out of your performance to your computer. And that is it for MIDI, because we know that MIDI out cannot be a MIDI in. We cannot send MIDI into a MIDI out. We can only send out. We cannot speak MIDI to perfect pitch, but perfect pitch can speak MIDI to other things through the 5-pin. But the USB, it was and it still is bidirectional. It's like having two 5-pin DIN connectors, one in and one out, but in one single socket. And then you would say, but this thing is technically analog. Why would we want to get MIDI from the computer into perfect pitch? Because it's not going to play the guitar. Obviously, you need a human to play the guitar, something physical to move the strings, the physical strings. But why else would it be receiving MIDI from the computer? Or what can it do with it? Well, first of all, it's going to send that MIDI input information out of the output MIDI as well. USB derived from the audio input and for firmware updates. It will also accept MIDI input and convert to CV gate output. Good. That's why I checked again and read again. No, I'm wrong. Okay? No. That's totally wrong. Told you, take a drink. The USB will not convert to 5-pin MIDI. Okay? it will convert to CV and gate analog voltage signals. Meaning, I can send my guitar playing a VST in my computer at the same time that my computer is sending digital signals to the PP1, which it will convert into analog voltage signals to control your rack. Mouthful, huh? I'm going to try to demonstrate all that tonight. So, what would be the use of that? Well, basically what I just said. I said, okay, I don't want to play my Eurorack from the PP1, but let's say I want to play, like I'm going to show today, a MIDI module from PP1. I can do that from my guitar and send the same information to be processed or to control or to CV other type of VST type of synthesizers, okay? But also I want the computer, DAW or VST instrument, to be able to, for instance, sequence something that I want to be playing from my Eurorack. Because in fact, I'm about to say something that I'm pretty sure is wrong, and we're going to put it to the test today, right? Which is, I don't think... Where's my... Ooh, I lost mine. Oh, you should be able to. Great. Lost my mouse. Oh, I don't know why. There it is. It's back. I'm not sure that the CV outputs will be summing signals, and something tells me that it might give preference to the USB. So if a USB signal is coming through the USB cable, it might not use the input. Yeah, I'm going slow because that doesn't sound right. And if it's true, it's a bummer. But if it's not true, it's also kind of a bummer, because it's going to make a mess. So let's put it to the test, okay? So let's just stop that. Yeah, come here. Now is when you do that. And when you do this, I'm back. So, let me show you what the beginning of the setup. What do I have ready? Well, at least I think it's ready for today. So, once again, changing cameras. Ahua, ahua. Let's do this. Ta-da! Cool. So, first of all, I'm gonna hang the guitar on me. And let's just start plugging the guitar into the PP1. Seriously, it's in my head. It's hilarious. PP1. Great. So nothing else is plugged. So the only things it could control at this point would be either the computer or the module. And by module, I mean change again. Sorry for this. I mean, this little puppy here, my Korg O5/RW. Yeah, pretty kind of neat little Rumpler, multi-timbral for when all you could do with professional music technology was basically to play video games or just sequence from your computer for home use, basically. Although I've seen people doing gigs with that type of material and stuff. A lot of that, in fact, back in the day. So, through the green cable, okay, we're getting into the O5R. That is connected to the mixer, and that is going to the interface into the secondary mixer for broadcast. So, first thing I need to do is to bring back the module in the mixer. Give me a second. That should do. Let's get some volume on the guitar. And let's hope that this works. That still works. Yep, we got a piano loaded. Just to prove you I'm playing. I am the one playing. Obviously, this Rumpler is set to play this piano chromatically, as in it's gonna quantize from one note to the next. That's why when I do tremolos, it's changing the unquantized signal into different notes. Let me try to turn on the half semitone pitch bend. Okay. Sorry, not half semitone, but a semitone, a half step. Let's see if that makes a difference. And before I do that, nope, not you, but you. Gonna shut up for a minute to see if the guitar is getting to you. Well, the light is turning on. If you can hear the piano, please let me know. Kind of funny. Kind of funny how it changes the tone. Yeah, I think the module cannot do pitch bend on this piano. Let me switch to another instrument to see if I can find one that I can follow pitch. alto saxophone with breath. Okay, I'm gonna try what happens if I increase the gate sensitivity, because it's cutting my notes a little bit. It improves. So let me get tons of it. Remember that what I'm doing is using just MIDI, okay? I'm not using CV here, therefore the behavior of the music is not really organic. It's a little stiff and digital, kind of, and quantized and steppy. No, this is making it worse because now it's that long that it cannot do the next note because the first one hasn't finished. Once again, remember it's monophonic. Remember what I told you what it would do if you try to accord? This is what it does. Basically it's trying to play all the pitches in succession. Okay, let me put it to 2 semitones. Now I'm losing the note before it changes, it quantizes to the next step. I got more problem with the sustain. Okay. Let's tweak it. The sensitivity is a little more. I have to admit that this is obviously it's not a Gibson. No, too long. Just a little thing that on a regular amplifier with regular effects does a perfect job, but in this case the pickups might be a little too weak for its liking, although it's in high impedance setting and the gain is basically maxed out. I cannot make it any more sensitive, but still is finding a little issue-y to trigger musically. Yeah, it's kind of funny how it can tell the wrapped strings from the plain strings by means of changing the filter somehow. It's dark and roundy. When I go to a plain string, it's a little more breathy. Let's try the same note in 2 different strings. So let's go for, obviously, this. So that would be your your A and your, wait, no. Yeah, no, this is A. Yeah, that's the wrong one. This is the one. Your G. Round wound, that's in wrapped string versus plain. Whoops. He didn't like those harmonics. Oh, it's the same one. This is the one I'm fretting. That's why I give you some tremolo, but the open air I cannot, because, well, I can try this. Wow, I'm just trying to make some kind of tremolo out in this side, but the new harmonics made it go bento. Okay, let's try the other end. Yeah. Well, that's some tremolo. Because once again, it kind of works. Just for fun, let's see if I can find a synthetic sound. Power synth. Let's see how powerful. Yeah, he's asking me to fight it a little too much, because it loses the tracking of the note a little too soon. I honestly don't know how to improve that. If I go back to no quantization. Yeah, the sustain doesn't really change. Well, 5-pin DIN on a mini module works. Let's mute that. Yep, and we have no module anymore. So let's check. Or do we want to do it? Oh, okay. So let's see what can I do CV wise. Let me show you what I'm gonna be patching and doing and tweaking. Here we go. All right. So just for shits and giggles. So the first thing I'm gonna do, patch cable, which I don't expect it to go too far. I mean, I was trying to use it with chips from Create Audio, but it comes with caveats. So, oh, let me show you this first. So this I'm gonna plug into the line out. to show you how what type of signal does it send in itself, because so far you haven't heard the guitar yet, the instrument I'm plugging. To do so, this should be on. All I need to do is to open the other channel in the mixer. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And that's my problem. So let's stop that for a second. So my line out is coming all the way here to the 297 mixer and portamento. Obviously the Behringer one from the 100M, how they call it, not efficient, recreation, faithful recreation, that's the Behringer term on the blurb. Faithful recreation of the System 100M from Roland. So I'm just using it. No, not that one. Wrong cable. So take a drink. So this is my line out in my mixer. In channel 2 is going into the main mixer and it's going out to you. Let me triple check that that's happening by doing this. Well, the light turns on. Right, so that's my bridge pickup. When I open it, that's my neck pickup. I have, well, in fact, let me triple check that. You can see in the PP1 that the signal is coming in, is almost full, is filling the whole bar when I make a full note. I'm gonna put down the gain, and I think that would be, if you need to, your only way to control the volume of that output. So if I put it, I don't know, almost down. Yeah, it's going mostly. It's mostly gone by now. Just to testify what I said, that line out is after detection, analysis, and amplification, as in pre-amplification of the whatever signal you plugged into the connector. Obviously, you cannot control that line out level independently from the PP1, because that gain not only affects the line output, but also your detection accuracy. So you wanted to have it on the perfect spot, the perfect high position, as in as high as it would get before it gets out of hand. It gets too sensitive. And obviously this is polyphonic. And I need tuning. Big time. Good. So, for reasons are gonna be apparent in a second, I'm gonna remove from the mixer, and in fact, I'm gonna actually remove the playing guitar. right? At this point, I have no audio routed to you. Okay, that's my microphone. So let's go CV. I'm gonna start using first chips just to check what it does and how little I know about the gear I have. Let's go. Let's do that. So now I'm doing CV out, and I'm going to the chips input. In the first oscillator input. In case you don't know, chips is basically it's a 3 oscillator, although 2 being audio range and 1 being LFO, low frequency, compact unit with a very specific set of settings, as in each row of the controls will control the equivalent row of connections with which, if I turn this off, you can read, connects to the specific oscillator. Obviously, I'm not going to be using the LFO yet, so I'm going to go for oscillator number 1. What did he call it? Chip. They call them chips, so hence the name of the module, chips. Cool. But also, I'm going to need to hear that oscillator. Chips doesn't have a mix out, not that I'm aware, but it has individual outs per oscillator. Like every other oscillator is listening all the time, because in fact, I'm wondering if it's it's meant to be a whole, each oscillator is meant to be a whole voice. Although it's doing this, it's like there's no VCA, or the VCA is constantly open. We still can change pitch. Let's try that. Just to remind myself, let me try something, because yeah, it doesn't go out if I don't modulate it. So this is from the, I'm trying to read, from the 182. This is the CV control from the 182, which has its own clock and is running there. But if I use the 182 gate, first of all, on this oscillator we don't have a gate input. It has a filter input. more as into to trigger, as in attack release the filter, but not really. I'm gonna try to stop the 182. Yes, I thought, no. It's like it's an oscillator without a VCA. I'm gonna try to close the filter. And out of the filter, well, you can hear it. It's making a weird simile of a VCA attack release. Interesting. I already tuned this oscillator to be in tune with the guitar when I plug it to the PP1. Now it's obviously triggering random pitches, random notes, because that's how I set up the controls in the. How do I change to? Oh, now it's doing the 16. Very low notes there. Back to 8. So this is the behavior even without a specifically unit for it. So then when we go back to the guitar controlling, so as I said, we got pitch, and I'm gonna use the gate on the guitar, so each time I play one note loud enough, it's gonna open the filter. Because it's steady, it's keeping the pitch steady until I modify it. So I start playing something. Weird. Well, sorry, no, it's not weird. You can hear that the filter is closing back, but that's the PP1 doing, because it also stops detecting the note, as in it stops doing the. I wonder what happens if I now make the gate longer. Okay, now it's shorter. Let's make it shorter. Almost done. Okay, that's funny. Okay, not that little. That's curious. That must be chips doing so, because in CV I've tried before. We showed in the show. We show that if you bend, it will follow you. But here, the module is quantizing. It's not continuous. I don't know. Okay, it works, although probably this is not the best example. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch it off for a second while I show and explain the next step. So far we've used the 5-pin DIN output and the analog CV and gate output. Let's get going with the USB, okay? So back to me first. Hello. Because now it's when the risk of computer crashing gets real, because I'm gonna be asking a little bit too much from this laptop. So this was it. Thank you very much for coming. You'll be more than welcome to come on the show in case my computer crashes and the broadcast stops. I'm not gonna submit you to any more pain for today, and we're gonna just leave it for the next show. So fingers crossed. So I want to share screen, and I want to share this window. Okay, I need a window to share first. All right. Hello, here we go. This is the one I'm gonna be sharing. And to do so, well, first of all, I don't think I need you. Now, where am I? Oh my, here. So, let's do this and this. Mr. VCV Rack. Same, basically this is a virtual Eurorack system in a computer. Although VCV Rack 2.0 has a version that can be used as a VST, the free version is not, and VCV Rack 1 point etc is neither, which means, okay, I did that a little too soon. Let me, because that's gonna get really tricky really quickly. So I want to do this, and I want to do it like this. Way better, except for, nope. That should do it. Nice and big. So now I can go back to my, no, that's the wrong screen. Here we go. So it's a VCV, virtual VCV it's a virtual Euro rack system. VCV Rack Free is totally free of charge. It has a massive and always growing collection of modules. For instance, sorry, wrong screen again. Here we go. We're talking serious, very, very serious. So many can't even load fast enough. In fact, do I have yeah, this is just the ones I managed to acquire just by saying I want it, because these are just the free available modules. You have in-house modules for free that comes, most of them comes with the free version. And you have third-party free modules, same as you have free-party paid-for modules. It's up to you if you want to pay for those modules, and just for those modules alone. You don't need to pay for the engine, you don't need to pay for the software, unless you want to use it as a VST on third-party DAWs or different company DAWs. So yeah, I myself have 3,462 modules. That's also counting blanks, so don't get too excited. Yeah, but it's very, very likely more than 2,000 free modules already. Some of them even from renowned Eurorack builders that decided to create a virtual version of it. But what I'm gonna be showing should be work with any virtual Eurorack system. Let me get out of here. Yep. So what I'm doing here, except for this Entrian player melody and possibly this oscillator here, I'm getting there, this one, which in fact I don't think I need, so I can delete. Right, what I'm using here is the in-house made modules. In fact, it's most of the first patch you find when you start the software for the first time in the version 2.0. Version 2.0, among other things they improve, is that the first patch, the init patch, comes pre-patched from factory, from the get-go, so you can do sound just by opening the software. 1.0 was a little less inclusive of newcomers, and the first patch was unwired. So you have to actually know your whereabouts in modular analog synthesizers and Eurorack type of modules to get a sound out of that. Not too hard, but still a little bit of a learning curve. So one of the advantages of the in-house modules, very much like Doppler modules, I understand they are in Eurorack because it was the OG brand of, or OG manufacturer of modules, and the one who set all the standards for the platform. I believe Mr. Dieter Doffer, might be wrong on the first name, because the second name is the name of the brand, so I cannot get that one wrong. But I believe it's Mr. Doffer, Mr. Dieter Doffer. I assume German, might be wrong, don't quote me on that. Basically what I'm trying to get at is that his original modules were what you see is what you get, very old school, one function per module, one control per function, one wheel or knob or slider or switch, and extremely straightforward and very fairly priced for the Eurorack world. So the VCV in-house original included modules, included at first, before you start asking for free modules. The ones that come by default are very clearly labeled on the top, what they do, what they're meant to do. They're pretty straightforward modules, as in most of what they do is written. How to use those connections might take a little learning, but that's as easy as clicking empty space inside the module, give me a right click, go to info, and he will take you to the user manual on a different tab in your browser. As I said, I'm using default modules in build modules which I kind of know more or less, and as I said, it's pretty straightforward. What we have here, although it's a little messy, these notes is more like a way to give you a starting point by the program, so you don't feel completely lost and and useless trying to make sound out of this. But I have to clarify for those who have never used VCV Rack and pretty much any other virtual Eurorack system, is that they want you to give you the closest experience to the hardware as they can, to the point that you need to patch before getting a sound. For instance, in this software, in VCV Rack, in this init patch, initialized patch, what you need to patch or connect before, pretty much the same way you would do with any other VST, is you need to tell the software what's the hardware you want to connect to it. As in, what is the audio inputs and what is the audio outputs. And even more important here, and in today's case, what are the MIDI inputs and what are the MIDI outputs. So, audio, how do you make VCV Rack send sound to the real world? This lovely module called Audio, of which I believe there's at least 2 or 3 versions in the software. This is the most basic, left and right output channels with a master controller. Doesn't show, but the first thing you need to do is to open your devices list, as in what is at the moment connected to the unit. Mine is humongous, therefore what I'm saying is my audio to my digital mixer so I can send it to the stream. You can see you can use all 3 types of Windows drivers, Wasapi, ASIO, and Direct Sound, and almost, yeah, and this is not even my studio connection. Every single audio driver that is in your computer will show, or mostly be available depending on type of driver, type of hardware is connected to, etc., etc. So once you have that, obviously you're going to be needing to send audio to the external world. In this case, you see all the cables are fainter, but when I hover over a specific one, it's going to show on solid color where is it attached to, because this left mono input, it's connecting to this VCF up there. Says VCF. Is it low? What is that? Sorry, low pass filter version of the VCF. This particular VCF has low pass filter and high pass filter controlled by the same cutoff threshold, resonance and drive simultaneously if you wish. Another good clue with VCV rack is that, wait a second, that's not right. No, it's not right. Don't know why I lost one of my lights. Wow, now it's it lost all the settings. Lovely. Take a drink. Told you it would be an interesting game. Cool. One more? Yeah, one more. Looks good in this camera. So, one first clue in these particular modules, but most of the VCV rack modules, output connections are usually marked on a different color, normally darker or black, depending on the color scheme of the module itself, or actually named out when input connections are paler. Another good tip of to find your way around the software is that if you start the connection by clicking in one connector, whichever you click, okay, so this particularly is the clock out of this LFO module. Well, it says CLK, I'm gonna assume it's clock. Sorry, yeah. In fact, you can turn off the interactive help, but it says clock input. Okay. So this clock input, if I try to connect a cable here, suddenly it's gonna block, by painting them black, all the jacks I cannot use. Not that it would make any change in a VST, but to get you the habit of never connecting inputs to inputs or outputs to outputs in Eurorack is giving you these guidelines. So I could connect with anything that's still visible, but never to one of the blackout holes or jacks in any of the modules. If I don't want to connect, just bring it back or just try to drop it on not a connector and it will disappear. So, having said so, the second thing is important to connect in VCV rack is your MIDI interface. Sorry, not so much interface, but your MIDI device. What type of MIDI are you going to send to the program so it understands whatever performance you want to execute? And for that, we start, you're going to get by default this MIDI to CV module conversion. It will take MIDI from wherever you want it to take it, and out of these, you see, they're all black, output jacks, it will separate each type of MIDI message into its correspondent CV, control voltage. Okay, a quick one. So basically, volt per octave, which would be just a continuous, steady voltage that would change over time. Gate, which is, as we know, it's either low voltage or non-voltage changing to a high voltage for a specific amount of time, or for how long as the key is pressed, it will remain high until we release the key, or the MIDI message stops and then goes low again. So it will give that information to whatever module can use that information to make a difference, a modulation to make music with it. We got a velocity out. We got pitch wheel, mod wheel, clocks, two types, which if I'm honest, I still don't understand. What I'm kind of aware is that you either need a MIDI controller that is sending continuous clock messages, or those type of clocks will only output as long as you are triggering or pressing or modifying keys or buttons on your controller. So the minute you stop the activity of that MIDI device, the clock would also stop. So for some applications, you might want a completely different source of clock than that one. Although I could be wrong, because I haven't mastered this program yet, like anything I have. But yeah, so you got some basics. In this case, you have 3 VCOs and 1 wavetable VCO, voltage control oscillator. We got a noise generator. We got 2 envelopes, ADSR envelope generator right here. Noise generation, octave switchers is basically gonna tell in octave increments. It's gonna tell the module how high or how low their notes need to be according to the MIDI note message that is coming in. We got 2, 1 per standard VCO, analog VCO, 1 LFO module, 1 VCA module, which in fact I think I might need to connect. Oh no, this came connected for the modulation wheel, because my VCA in fact is also a mixer. Okay, it can mix 4 audio signals, and with 1, in this case envelope, open the VCAs assigned to each channel on the same amount, on a proportional amount, and then output the sound to, in this case, our filter. So we're basically mixing 4 sources of audio, VCOs 1 and 2, wavetable and noise, these 4 sources of audio, into one single mix that will go paraphonically into my VCF through the low pass filter straight out to the digital mixer in my case, or your speakers. Going back to the MIDI, you need to connect the MIDI to the system to tell when to trigger, what to trigger, and how to trigger. For that, you need, in this module, your first parameter is which realm, or which is your main, which is going to be your main MIDI source. Windows MIDI, it could be a little confusing, but basically is any, I'm not sure if an internal source would also use Windows MIDI. I think it would. but any external hardware would be using this driver, the Windows MIDI, because the other three options, we got this keyboard mouse, which is basically whatever is already built in the motherboard of your computer, nothing external. Then you have options for gamepad and loopback, which I still don't understand the loopback, but a gamepad, I guess, is just old-fashioned way of an analog MIDI controller, I think. Not too sure. In our case, because we're trying to control this software with PP1, we need to go through Windows MIDI. Then we need to find the device in this second line. And funny enough, it's not detecting the PP1. Here we go. I swear it was working. Okay, let's do it the hard way. Take the connector, plug it off. Plug it in again. Hope that Windows goes through the handshake. And now try to find the unit. And it's back. Here, point to perfect pitch 1. So I want to be able to control through this MIDI source. And then what channel? If we have several MIDI sources and we want to control several devices through MIDI independently, I could assign a specific channel for this module, because it's a VST. I can have as many copies of this module as I want. I could have them all on the same parent MIDI engine, which is Windows MIDI, but coming from different devices, hardware devices, on a specific MIDI channel. I think some modules in VCB Rack are becoming polyphonic. I don't know if some of them are also multi-timbral, hence they might be able to execute more than one MIDI channel at a time. But so far, I'm going to stick to all channels, because I think PP1 sends MIDI channel 1, at least that's how I set the 05R. It's in channel 1, but I don't think there's anything in the manual. Let me have a quick check. Yeah, it's gonna be harder to do it this way. Okay, didn't lose you, but this is too far away. Funny enough, there's no MIDI implementation in here. Let's see if I can modify. Why can't I? Yeah, this goes up and down, so nothing there. Okay, I'm gonna have to do it this way. Just 1 second. So, I'm going through the specs to see if they have any reference to MIDI. Well, I don't see any, although... Oh no, I'm confusing this manual with my TD3's manual. Because I know the TD3 has a section for MIDI, but this manual doesn't. Not a word. Let's go to... Let me read quickly. MIDI out. Pen switch. USB messages derived from the audio input. Nope. Not a single mention. That's a good, very well done, Behringer. That's a very. Okay, never mind. It doesn't say the MIDI channel, but I think it's MIDI channel 1. Plus, it's a monophonic, basically no tone, no off, velocity, and gate kind of information. So don't need more than one channel to do so. Cool. So let's see if it's gonna be detecting, because that was the problem I was having this evening. It does the connection. It gets me. Another thing that is helpful in this software, because that's what when we're gonna crash. If you can see here, yeah, you should be able to see my pointer. This connection, you see the whole feels like blinking, same as this. Anytime that an output has some voltage activity, it will go from black to a blinking color of some kind if it's something that happens repeatedly. If it's something that happens as like an envelope generator, you will see it go to a different color while the envelope is progressing and disappear again when the envelope is reset or finished. Okay, same thing, same here. For instance, this connection is taken straight from the noise, which is a voltage that is constantly changing. That's why it's blinking yellowish. These other sources, although they're blinking, doesn't mean that it's changing constantly. It could be a specific constant pitch that we're not hearing because we're not opening the gate for the VCA. All right, that's why we have no. And in fact, is this coming from the, yeah, from the ADSR? So let's see if this software can detect, because I'm gonna try to see the voltage change here. That should change when I play. Well, we got a gate. Cool, it's detecting gate. Not so sure why it's not detecting voltage per octave. Huh, that's a weird one. Why is this happening? I'm pretty sure the sound we're having is the software sound, because we already see that if I was triggering the CBN gate from the module to the chips does not stop, doesn't go silent. It just changes pitch and opens and closes the filter, but it doesn't stay. They go silence. Only this software can go silence, and the guitar and the Rumpler module are turned off for the big mixer. So I'm pretty sure what we're hearing is this software. Let me triple check. Because I can't even see. Yes, you're still here. That's why you do that. Okay. So let me see if it's also too loud. Huh. That crackling noise could be my computer asking for mercy. Very likely. In fact, let's try to set that up so it doesn't happen. So let's see if I can help. No. In edit. No. Sorry. Sorry. Oh, engine. That's where I'm trying to find out. Sample rate. What happens if I go 44 and try to play? Because my mixer's at 48. Okay, we got pitch detection, but somehow it's not really reactive. And the crackling seems to have gone away. What if... So, first thing I'm gonna do, let's use only one oscillator. So, goodbye with the noise, goodbye with the wavetable, and goodbye with VCO2. Alright, so these three sources should not make a sound now, even when I open the VCA. Still squarish, I assume because of the filter. Because, oh sorry, that's the yellow phone. Oh, can I change myself? I'm blocking my own controls. Okay, no, so I'll have to do it this other way. So I'm gonna change this oscillator. Sorry, you can, in fact, no. Let's get that oscillator off as well and get oscillator 2 so I can show you what I'm doing. Otherwise my image is gonna block here, my picture, my video. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, it's interesting because it sounds polyphonic. And I'm sure it's not the wavetable. Huh, really weird. But let me transpose it anyway. Wait, is this even transposing? I'm trying to understand the patch. There's a little too many cables here. Because this is this is voltage for octave's sake. And once it's transformed to a different octave, yeah, but this is not controlling this. And this, so basically this octaver is for VCO2 when this octaver is for the wavetable. So if I go for no action, then it's not going to transpose anywhere. See? And if I, just for shit, Scheissingigalia, if I transpose one octave up, this is really weird, because I would swear this is polyphonic, but the oscillator is monophonic, I think. I don't even understand why the pulse width is turned on if... Wait a second. Now, if I put this down, I'm thinking... Yeah, exactly. That's the volume per oscillator. And this is VCO2, and this is VCO1. This is the wavetable oscillator, and this is the noise source. So if I go for VCO2, so, cool. But that demonstrates that the PP1 can control a VST. Good. But what else can we do with the PP1? As we said, we can send sequence from the VST to the PP1, to the analog output of the PP1, not to the 5-pin digital. So that's what we're gonna do. And I got this sequencer. Let's see if it's gonna do what I expect to do. So I'm gonna run it. It's a very well-known piece of music, although very mangled, out of a Eurorack system with 3 oscillators and a noise source. Let's put it back where it was. So it's gonna be good that is almost unrecognizable. get the gist, right? I'm gonna reset it. But that's all well and good, is using the digital software, is using the software oscillators, but what is the interaction with the PP1? Well, now what I'm gonna try to do is to send this sequencer out to the PP1 so it plays my Eurorack. Okay, it's already the CV connector and can I do this? In fact, let's try that. Let's try this. Really? Okay. You get out of the middle. Get out of the way. And you change here. Okay? So just to remind you that CV and gate, they're already patched to the first oscillator of chips, and chips output at the moment is off, so it doesn't bother us, but I'm gonna plug it in a second. But first we need to handle the software. To do the backwards information or communication from the computer to the PP1, we're gonna need a different module. In this case, a CV to MIDI. Okay, so it's gonna take the virtual control voltage, the digital control voltage, if we want to call it, and it's gonna codify it and send it out as MIDI commands. So for that, I'm gonna get it. Another good thing about virtual Eurorack is that you don't need multiples, because most of the applications out there have a functionality to multiply the connections from the same source. So by pressing the letter control, so the key in the keyboard, the key control, which might be command in Macintosh systems, in Apple systems, I think is possibly. So control, press, and then left click on the same connectors already occupied. It will allow me, if I go to the right screen, it should allow me, see, now I'm on the right screen, now it's pinpointing all the cables in this connection. I press control, left click, and it opens. No, it's moving. Okay, what's going on now? I think it's control. I did it before. Now, okay. Now it's generated a different cable from the volt per octave, which I'm gonna send to the output voltage per octave, and control and click on the connection, new connection to the gate. But obviously, the same way we did with the input, MIDI input, we need to connect it to a MIDI output, to a specific one. So once again, Windows MIDI, yeah, that's the right engine, way of speaking, or highway of communication. But now the device, obviously the Microsoft, my interface that also has a one in, one out MIDI communication. But the one we're looking for is our brother, the perfect pitch. And we're gonna stick it to channel 1, although for this purpose I don't think it's gonna matter, because as the manual said, USB connection does not talk with 5-pin DIN, which would be the digital MIDI output, or no MIDI conversion. Because once again, the software through the USB is sending MIDI messages, digital computer MIDI messages to PP1. PP1 is the one that's going to take those computer MIDI messages from the USB cable and is going to translate them into analog voltage control actions. Okay, the software is not doing that, and nothing else is doing. The actual transformation is in PP1. And sorry, I just stopped there because I just realized that, in fact, the computer is faking a transformation. That's why everything is labeled volt per octave, gate. They're basically names for connections that should be voltage, but no, this is a digital computer simulation. So it's not actually transforming anything into anything. It's just to keep your familiarity, or to make you become familiar with the terminology and types of hardware connections that you should be doing on an actual hardware system. They give you the fantasy that is making connections between volt per octave and MIDI messages, etc., etc. No, it's all zeros and ones, nots and zeros in the computer. Is when I send the zeros and ones down to the PP1, then a real transformation happens. So I can see already, you see there's a little bluish tint in this connector, so it's already sending a signal, but it's not opening the gate. Problem is, remember this, in this module I'm using, in this oscillator module I'm using, okay, there is no VCA action in the, at least not in this first oscillator. It's only filter action. That's why when I plug the output, okay, it's going back to its socket, it's gonna go Mac. Alright. But now the magic, I'm gonna shut my guitar down to be totally sure that it's not the guitar triggering anything. Alright. And when I run this sequencer, it should start playing something. Remember that the beginning of the part is the same note over and over again, and since we don't have a gate, a VCA gate, is actually not gonna feel like multiple notes, but just one very long note. Right? So let's reset the sequencer and let's run it. And here we go, we got gates. But let me do this. Because you were hearing both. So now the software is now outputting any audio. All you can hear is one single monophonic line. Oh my god, is this wonderful or what? This USB cable is taking the data from the sequencer and sending it to the analog CV outputs to the chips. Why it's so hard to recognize the song? Is as you can see, it's trying to play a, I think it's like 12 or 14 different tracks of MIDI at the same time through a module that can only play one note at a time. So it's basically crashing itself, it's collapsing itself and trying to make the best out of a mess, basically. But still, it's proof of concept. I'm gonna shut it for a second. It's proof of concept. You can use your PP1 from a digital sequencer in your computer to send signals to your rack system. Now, I want to try. Well, I'm going to try this again. I'm going to connect the output again. And I want to see if it's going to execute or try to execute both analog signals, my guitar and the sequence. Opening my guitar. Well, the good news is that it's doing both. The bad news is that it's not capable of summing them because of the monophonic nature of the device, and is giving priority to the audio input of the device, not to the USB. So every time I try to play a note, stops executing the orders he's receiving through the USB. I'm thinking, how else can we push this? Because that's the problem. Since it's prioritizing the input, I could not just a little break while I think aloud. So, since it's prioritizing the input, I could not be playing the guitar and triggering the 5-pin DIN hardware connected without interrupting the sequencing. And it's not going to play both unless... No, it's not going to play both for as long as my guitar is sending information to the PP1, is sending audio. As in, that is kind of the switch. It switches back to the sequencer every time my gate, the gate that the system is generating on every of my guitar notes, stops. Then is when the sequence it's allowed to come back to the CV. And as we read, there's no communication from the USB to the 5-pin DIN, so I could not sequence from the same module. Because I'm thinking, I could do, obviously, what I can do is with the input I can play the 5-pin DIN and the VST at the same time, because that's sending simultaneously. But that's it. That's the whole point. So it's either or. You can, although the USB is doing both at the same time, the CV converter cannot do both at the same time. It can only do one of them, one of the both sources, which is either USB in. No, that USB has an out, sorry. So, I mean, the in portion of the USB, the in half of the USB cable, only communicates with the CV. That's a bummer. Very, very interesting. I mean, it's still very capable. I mean, if in a pinch you want to sequence or even modulate, because what I'm doing here in the software, let me just, for shits and giggles, let's get back to me. And let me just, I don't think, but, oh, hello. Finally, the gang is here. Let me, okay, give me a second. Let me catch up with messages. Woohoo, VCB, yay! Arguably better than hardware for building. Mr. Ace Stripe, VCB is probably the best godsend piece of software for the Eurorack community ever created. I totally agree. Yay! Uncle Chrome, what are you missing? You're missing VCV Havoc, the one you mastered so many moons ago. I'm just doing my tipping my toes in it for a minute. How long? How old are these messages? Oh God. Well, not that much. No, you should be there. Define your meaning. Whoa, hello. Oh, okay. Yeah, space chariots of fire. Yeah, that was trying to do, yes. Very poorly, but yes. I mean, it's good that it was poorly, that way I can kind of skip the copyright strike, but nah, that wasn't the intention. It's just that I'm very very unskilled with this technology. Polynode gate to a mono voice. Yeah, he's probably doing that. Is sending polyphonic information into a unit that can only do note at a time. That's why it was going bonkers. Okay. Mr. Uncle Chrome, how do I do that? Says use a split module to break out the mono channel. How would I do that? Are you still there? I don't know. I cannot. No, I'm not gonna do that. Oh, okay. Yes, you're there. How about try hooking me up to my Okay, let's try to find it. Let's show everybody else how to improperly use VCV Rack. So we open for the modules. Oh my God, I need to do this big. Give me a second. I'm gonna stop seeing the messages because I need to be able to read the screen. Just give me a second. So I'm gonna go for search modules. Yeah. And let's Gonna see if it's gonna search the name. Okay. Oh, yeah, my laptop is still. Huh. I can see. Oh, here. This one is called Split, and it has appeared here. So what am I meant to do? Volt per octave. So let's make this a little more cozy. Oh, look, I managed to make a square. Yeah, that doesn't happen all the time. So let's get the volt per octave into the poly input. 14 channels. I assume now I could. Problem is I don't know if these. Okay, let's just roll with it. Okay, I'm gonna put the chips back in the mixer. Okay, let's reset this. Yeah, that's meant to be the bass, but obviously we got problems with transposition here. Huh. Because the problem with this, well, my problem with this is, yeah, no problem. I know I can edit. Sorry. You can't see the editor because it's on a different window. Still going crazy. I don't know why. Okay, let me. What happens if I go with channel 2? No, seems like everything is in one single mono channel. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Same with the gate. Yeah, but okay. Do I need a second module there? Do I need another split? Yes, you were summoned to 11. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Uncle Chrome is what I would call an expert on VCV rack. So if he says so, I'll do it. Okay. So let me see. If I get a second split. And then send the gates. If anybody is interested, this is not sounding like the song because the synth sound is in this patch is nothing like the original synth patch. That's why. So we're using the same execution, but we're not using the same sound source. That's why. Yeah, I don't think this is working either. Is it? Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm gonna share it because it's way easier just to share it than trying to explain it. So I hope you don't mind. There's a lot of shortcuts and keyboard shortcuts in VCB Rack, as every good piece of software, and obviously I don't know them all by heart, but Mr. Chrome does. Thank you very much. Start. So you want me to reset it? So there it goes. Oh, wrong screen. There we go. Go no. Get your little fishy. Reset. So now it's back to the beginning. Yeah, it's doing the same. Oh, okay. So first of all, how much power do I have? I'm good. Just machine some giggles. Let me try. I don't think it's gonna make any difference because I think it's sending everything on every channel. But okay. First of all, let me stop this for a second. And let me get this out of our ear for 1 little second. Yeah, definitely. Oh, sorry, they were talking something else. Let me just run for a brief second for the people watching. Come here, come with Papa. What am I doing? Because once again, this is 6 oscillators. We know that this is not I'm not here to demo VCB Rack. We know because we knew, or because I just told you, that is a very powerful Eurorack virtual system. But what we're doing today is exploring the capabilities of this little device, the Behringer Perfect Pitch PP1 for all jokingly friends. And how can you supercharge or use to to its full capabilities his connectivity? Mostly today we mostly focus on the capabilities of the USB connector, this little cable here. What I'm doing right now, instead of the intended use of this unit, which is through TS or XLR cable from a guitar or a microphone from an audio source, convert either to CV control to control Eurorack or any suitable compatible hardware device, or through 5-pin DIN traditional MIDI to control any hardware that could be controlled or played from MIDI, or as a third possibility to interact with your computer through the USB connection, both ways, in and out, as in from the PP into the sorry, I giggle every time I say PP. That's how mature I am. From your guitar to trigger synthesizers or any instrument or any MIDI handling software in your computer, and from your computer to use trackers, sequencers, any type of MIDI generating device to come back to this piece of hardware and out of the CV controls to control your Eurorack. That's what you've been hearing. This failed poor rendition of Mr. Vangelis of Chariots of Fire through a one single oscillator monophonic MIDI to CV converter. So, PP, yeah. Yeah, I'm not the only one giggling. I'm glad of that. So, yeah, that's what we're trying to do, and I think we managed. Sadly for you people in the comment section, we're getting, if not past the time, yeah, we're way past the time, to the end of today's episode. Well, today's means this month's episode. But please, if you have any questions, I'm gonna give you five more minutes. If you have any questions about the setup, I can try to demonstrate or prove or test today. Please do so, and I'll try to answer to the best of my knowledge, which is, can't promise anything basically. Hey, hello everyone in the comment section. Happy to see you here. Mr. Uncle Chrome, do you even have any modular synthesizer or any synthesizer that would take CV controllers? The 4MS Meta module, no. I need to, well, everybody knows I'm an ignorant. I've proven many times so in this show. And one of my big areas or ignorance is the plethora, absurd plethora of Eurorack modules that are out there, not only currently on the shop shelves to be purchased at any given time, but also being also discontinued in the past. I don't know, how old is Eurorack? 25 years? 30 years by now? Ooh, who's... Oh, that's interesting. How did I do that? Okay, sorry, I clicked on the wrong button there. 6 VCV oscillators, yeah. I mean, I could do that, but it's gonna be very painful to watch. But the biggest problem is the PP1 is monophonic. The the capture, the transformation from audio to either Eurorack control voltage or MIDI is monophonic. It can only do one note at a time. And in fact, I might be able to... Oh, wait, here. Let me catch up. Oh, thank you very much. Somebody's congratulating me for this horrendous train wreck I put out this night. You know, that's what I keep telling to my viewers. You come here for the information, just stay for the train wreck. Come on. You know you do. Okay, so you do have some stuff. Oh, okay, so you actually got one of those modules that can host VCV in the rack case. That's interesting. I mean, I don't blame you, because computers, huh? Wow. So he's talking, well, let me share this one, because this is really interesting. Morpheus. As I said, I started my life in Eurorack is, although this is my secondary case. Let me pull it out again. Not that I want to brag, but I'm kind of proud of it. And I'm going, so basically, this is the only standard priced Eurorack module I bought brand new, because I couldn't find a second-hand one, and I didn't trust a second-hand one. Is Delptronics Wichok. It's really crazy. Basically, out of Nintendo Wii nunchuck controller, not the major wireless one, but the add-on you apply to the Wii controller, it splits all the sensors it has inside into CV channels, one per hole, and it's really fun for real-time modulation, because obviously the Wii Chuck, it not only has the upper joystick and both button triggers, but also has a full gyroscope inside that not only senses sideways tilting, but also forward and backward tinted, which gives you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 sources of modulation, of CV modulation, basically. Then I got cells and chips from a guy that was getting rid of them. I assume somebody who put a nifty case from Create Audio. Cells is a sequencer. Chips is a you can call it 3 voice oscillator. Is a 2 audio range oscillator and 1 LFO, with the most random controllers that you can find in Eurorack, because although these first 2 are your typical tuning, then one of them has filter, but the other one has something else I can't remember. Wait. Yes, it's width. I assume it is the pulse width modulation of the square wave. Then constantly morphing wave sources, and then the LFO What was the level? Rate, depth, and waveform as well. So not the most useful voices, but they do the job. Then I got the PP1 in order to be able to play it from the guitar, and obviously the people in the chat knows about makeshift. Sorry, is it GP or PG? GP82, which is meant to be an enhancer of the Behringer 182 sequencer. The rest is because I decided to get the whole System 100 collection, although I just discovered that there's 3 modules they discontinued, so there is that. There's that for a challenge. And these are the modules I chose not to apply to my main case, which is the one with my 2600 and a couple of a double VCF, a double VCA, and envelopes and LFOs to control those, so I can make the Barb 2600 into a totally polyphonic 3-voice synthesizer. Although I'm not sure how I'm gonna manage the polyphony. What am I gonna use to trigger it? Because yes, I have 3 voice sources, but I don't really have 3 note sources, if you know what I mean. Because the 2600 only has 2, is duophonic. Ooh, let me check on the questions. I might remember, I might not, so please forgive me. Because it's really late by me, and after I take my meds and go to bed, tomorrow I'm almost wiped out. You have which controllers, Uncle? 15. Oh, so okay, let me show that. So when you go here, is this gamepad the old? Oh, what do you mean 15 pin? I thought it was 9 pin, the old joystick sub D connector. And by old, I mean ancient by now, because we're talking old sound cards with 9 pin sub Ds for joysticks. Okay. But I assume that's the gamepad it's talking about. So it must be looking for a specific driver in the system. Is that right? Let me get back to you. Here we go. There's the. Oh, sorry. Because by Nintendo gamepad, you mean the original? No, the original Nintendo. Where the name? Can't remember. As in the NES, Nintendo, the original, the Nintendo Entertainment System. Nintendo gamepad put out clueless. I'm pretty sure it was voltage. I mean, because a sub D, I don't think many sub Ds actually managed digital signals, because it's a very poor connector for that purpose. But once again, once you send voltage down a wire, the way you decode it, it depends only on the other end, in a way of speaking. But talking about actual gamepads from consoles, that's when it gets proprietary and very messed up. Because somehow I don't think the NES controllers had 9 pins. Can I? Let's see if Google can help. Yes. Controller. Jack. No, that's not it. Oh, wait. No, those are nunchucks. Seven pins. Interesting. So the NES controllers, the square ones with the cross and the 4 buttons, 2 for play and 2 for menus, they had 7 pin connectors. And I'm pretty sure those were analog, as in kind of interruptions. As in the NES would send voltage down the remote, and the buttons would interrupt them and process them digitally, as in on-offs. I'm just guessing. I don't really know. Oh yeah, I didn't remember it had a 7-pin connector. On a different shape than a sub-D would have it, but it's a 7-pin connector. Configure. Obviously, all sorts and types of adapters and thingy poops. What else? Yeah, as I said, that gamepad option in VCV must be for something modern, probably something Bluetooth, because I assume they should come with their own driver to talk to the software, and then VCV is able to decode whatever mapping that the controller can have into CV sources. A little bit what the WeChuck module is doing in my case, just digitally inside the laptop. But one question I got for you, Mr. Uncle Chrome. At this moment, with this amount of modules you see on the screen, let me find out this. This baby is eating 50% of my CPU usage at the moment, which is hovering around 65%. So 30% of my CPU is being used by VCB. What machine do you use? Because I'm pretty sure you have way more extensive patches. Yeah, I decided to use VCB. First of all, a thought crossed my mind about you, but mostly because if anyone wants to replicate or try to do something similar with their gear including the PP1, which is really affordable at the moment, at least here in UK. They don't need to spend a coin into this one. It's there, it's mighty powerful, it's fun as fun can be, and it's fairly easy to use. I also had my other option was to use a voltage modular from Cherry Audio, but I'm even less experienced with that one. The learning curve feels one notch harder because their interface, as in audio and MIDI and CV in and out, is way more powerful, therefore needs a longer learning curve to master it. And that's it basically. And I don't know it as well as I know VCV, so I thought that was the logical way to do it. i9 97 kilohertz. What? 48 gigs of RAM. Wow. How do you fit that? Linux, oh, that's brave. I mean, it might be the last resource to all those who cannot join the Olympus Mount of Apple technology. But wow, that's brave. I can't wrap my head around Linux. I don't dare. I'm damned to stay with Windows for whatever's left. No, because, sorry. First of all, I'm interested. Second, I think this is relevant. I hope you don't mind I share this. So, as I said, in VCV, there are modules that are meant to be paid for. As in, if you come from the free version, but you still want to use those modules in the free version, you need to purchase them. They're not expensive, not even for VST standards. The only caveat is they're only meant to be used with the standalone VCV rack. What I don't know is if you buy what they call VCV Rack Pro, the full version, the one that is both standalone and VST applicable, would you get all the paid modules within it, or those extra modules are still going to be extra and you still have to buy them on top? Do you have that answer for me? Wow, 216s and two 8 gig strips of RAM. Wait, that's 48? Huh. Okay. Oh, you couldn't bring your laptop to Windows 11. Yeah, I hear that. I feel you. My PC, not this one, my PC barely made a cut to get to Windows 11. But so far, because I don't use it daily and I only update it weekly or monthly, it's surviving all the crappy updates apparently. Knock on wood. Highly recommend this if huh? Yeah, VCV Rack Pro. It can be a VST. No, but I'm talking about. Wait, I'm trying to catch up with the with the comments. From paid VCV. Yeah, I know they're totally compatible with both. I just haven't found a comprehensive or easy to understand list of what's included in VCV Rack Pro, the paid for version. Okay, well, they're lost about your RAM tradings and stuff. Yeah, why would you want VCV Rack in my case, Cubase? Because you might want to improvise and use the flexibility of a modular system to create either some sound that you don't already have if you don't have much sound sources, which is kind of hard nowadays because Cubase Pro comes with already more than you would ever need to standard commercial music, and a big share of left field stuff as well. But if you wanna go creative and wanna create out of the blue and something you have never heard and you want then use it within one of your compositions, yeah, I totally see the point, and I wouldn't mind having it as another resource, because Cubase does not come with any modular synthesizer. It comes with very nice recreations of vintage and analogs, but nothing modular. So if you want the flexibility and the modulation power, although talking about modulation power, all the new improvements in Cubase Pro has been basically they're making a big effort, or they're putting a lot of time and effort into making Cubase the DAW killer. They want to be as jammable as Ableton Live, as generative and inspiration creation as what's the one in Apple? Not GarageBand, the Logic. They want to compete with Logic. They want to compete with Pro Tools. They want to compete with the one I said already, Ableton Live. But obviously, they're never going to be able to match Logic, because Logic is free if you buy an Apple, and Cubase Pro is not free. It's nothing but free. They might give a run for his money to Pro Tools by now. Cubase is already surpassed by Nuendo, but it's a not completely different product for a completely different job. Ableton Live, It's a little clumsy on the Ableton Live front because it can do what Ableton can do, but it takes forever to do it. As in, to get to the same flexibility that Ableton gives you on the looping, performing side, it takes kind of forever. Yeah, in your case, it's totally pointless because VCP for you is your DAW, and with those extra modules that can host external plugins, you don't really need any of that, really. But if you do, there is a plugin. Well, it's not really cheap, but I think it's worth it. I could recommend from IK Multimedia Mixbox. It's kind of a 500 series virtual system, but the good side of it is that it can handle natively 4 channels of audio, as in, sorry, not 4, 8 channels of audio, as you would in a mixer with 8 independent channels where you can configure what blocks are gonna be editing those 8 channels. It's really fast, it's really powerful. I don't think it's very heavy on the CPU, and it sounds very good for the price. Yeah, VCP is absolutely intuitive. It's as I said, I tried VCP, I tried voltage modular. Once again, voltage modular is really, really good, but feels a little. You need to know what you're handling in voltage modular. We're here in VCP with all the contextual help and that block notes at the beginning. You can stumble upon good results in VCP pretty easy. I mean, I can use it, so trust me, anybody can use it. Yeah, now you can get Mixbox independently, and at the moment I think it's $100. Could be less. Don't quote me on that. Check the prices. I mean, IK has changed his mentality a lot, and for instance, you can get 90% of their products for free. As in, okay, let me remove this. They have this new version they call CS. Okay, all of their block or core types of software, their families, they have a CS version that they will allow you to use for free. What does that mean? They give you the engine, so you buy the presets, in a way of speaking. For instance, they have their own product to compete with is it Professional Drummer? Superior Drummer. They have their own drum suite, totally editable, but they give you, I think, is 1 kit for free out of, I think it's 12 or 15 different kits that you can buy afterwards, one at a time if you wish. Okay, obviously each kit gives you the possibility to use individual parts of the kit on a custom kit that you can fathom with all 14 kits on different pieces on different ways. But they do the same with the sampler, with the multi-timbral software, sample tank. They do the same with their virtual analog engine, Syntronic. They do the same with the bass suite, where you can get it for free. I think is one with a precision bass, but the other 16 bass types with extra amplifiers, those you have to buy one by one. Then T-Rex is already very powerful, but now they have Larsen mastering. I haven't used it in anger to be able to talk about it, but it looked neat, very neat, and it's a mastering software. It's meant to be handled as a mastering tool. It's not like an add-on to your DAW with your multi-tracks and stuff. No. It asks you to import stereo tracks, and then it's very powerful to modify those. Lucky you. It took me more like 2 or 3 weeks to make one. if I ever finish one. UAD, yeah. But the problem is they're really good and they know it. Hence the price. Because even now in Black Friday, I think the most they're doing is 40% in some of their lesser products. But yeah, it's amazing. I mean, first time I think they were giving the basic version of their LA2A replica just for signing in for the newsletter. The first time I used it, I could not believe the effect of a plugin into the final audio source. It was like, wait, what? So this is how they do it? And if that's the emulation, the digital recreation, think about what the actual hardware can do. As in, it was like night and day difference. Just apply the plugin with a preset and suddenly your mix is twice as expensive just by using it. Is it Pianotech? Pianotech. They have their own piano exclusive, and same. I think they will give you one piano, or possibly not a full piano, because in IK Multimedia the pianos come with microphone positions and it's all sample based, so they're really heavy on the hard drive. I'm not sure if they give you a full piano for free, and the rest of the 9 pianos then you have to buy individually. And those pianos, full price, are like $100-something each. So the full suite, you end up close to $1,000 just in piano samples. Yeah. Same thing with Cubase. Cubase is getting this trend. I mean, when I started with them, they wouldn't do it. In fact, it was kind of infuriating that they would not even make any discounts for instance, in Black Friday or ever through the year. But now they're in this kind of tradition of one version a year, almost for sure, granted, if not one version and one update. And the last 3 years since they went dongle-less, they're syncing with everybody else, so they're releasing the new version for as in November, for technically for Black Friday, and they have been, if not giving you a price discount on top of whatever deductions you have for not buying the full version. If they don't do money discounts, they have done one or twice same price, but they would give you extra goodies from third-party vendors. So one year they gave the basic Celemony auto-tune, in a way of speaking, but the good one, for free. Another year they gave us the CS80, the Arturia CS80 replica included in the update, and things of the sort. Hitsville mastering. Wow, no, I don't know any of this. Funny you say SSL. I think I bought, and probably UADs, the not the SSL, the API channel strip. I'm not sure if I got the SSL. It's all in the studio computer, because this laptop has a very small hard drive, so I need to be very careful with what I put in this one. But every time, the few little times that I try to use them, I might be doing something wrong. I don't like the sound of them. It's like, this sounds worse than the default inbuilt Cubase Pro channel strip. As in, yeah, it has more character, but it's a character myself I don't like. It's very, how to put it? If I use that channel strip, I know that it will take me twice as much work to make it sound the way I like it than if I don't use it and just go for the default one. Isn't that crazy? I don't know what I'm doing wrong, really. Wait. So you got a distressor? Yeah, everybody talks very good about the distressor. So I assume that the replicas must be also very good, but must be because it gets out of the way. Because one of the YouTubers I follow records with his vocals into a distressor because he does a ton of dynamics in his voice. So yeah, it is in one of my my baskets in one of the shops, but I don't know. Ooh. Mr. Flaming 7. Welcome to 6 oscillators, where guitars and synthesizers collide. Although now we're talking about VSTs. So welcome. The API, okay. As I said, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Maybe it's because I'm piling two different strips into one mix or something, but I get why, for instance, the API, I understand how would it, when it was talking about the hardware, how did it make waves in the industry at one point back in the 90s or 80s. I understand that. But I think nowadays there are digital options that sound better, at least to me, to my ears and to my speakers. Oh, the Neve strip. I wish I could buy the Neve strip. Obviously, yeah. Everything is... as I said, that's why I think I might be doing something wrong. I might not be getting the idiocracy, not idiocracy, not the, how do you call it? You can tell my brain is melting by the second. It's not idiocracy. The personality of those replicas of the hardware, I get it. It's just same thing. What was is it the LA2A? No. What is the other famous compressor? I'm not sure it's the LA2A. So basically, I had to read a bunch to find out that the way you compress through that, because funny enough, it's not called compressor, it's called mixing amplifier. So the way you get compression out of that machine is not by lowering the threshold, is by boosting the input, which is to me totally berserk or bonkers. But then you think, yeah, sure, but you're gonna do it anyway with a makeup gain, so why not doing it first and then just shave off the excess? Yeah, makes total sense. And the replica I use sounding very good if you know that that's the way you use it. When I didn't know, it sounded like pants, really bad, squishy and soulless and really bad. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, software is catching up and is the future. No argue about it. It's because all the analog units are dying. Even if you find people who with the know-how to fix them, they're running out of parts to fix them, so they're gonna die. Thankfully, some of them have up-to-date modern counterparts, as in they have been not so much reissued, but re-engineered to 2025 specs and parts and available parts. So they do the same job, they just do it with different guts, slightly different guts. But yeah. Computers getting mightier and faster and more powerful, and that's not even getting to quantum computers. Yeah, future or the present of music. The only sad bit is the advent of what everybody calls AI. I refuse to call it AI. It's gonna be ML until it stops being ML. But yeah, it's a lot of, well, at least in my list, one of the YouTubers was moaning about, oh, my career's over because what I was trained for years to be able to do, now you can do it in minutes with a laptop and a connection to internet. And I said, sure, yeah, your career of doing mainstream, predictable, familiar, derivative, pop or pop rock hit singles for the mainstream might be over, because if the whole point is to repeat endlessly something that you've already heard before, yeah, that's what ML does better than anybody thing. But maybe you just need to nuance your job. Stop making derivative predictive music. Start making something that is actually new to you, something you have never heard before. Yeah, there's no money in that. Sure, possibly, but why not? My point of view is that yes, mass-produced derivative ML created music, is here, is now, is the present. But the same way that classical music has survived and endured centuries, I think people are gonna basically fight back and then gonna say, oh, so that this machine-made music doesn't feed me, doesn't entice me, doesn't fulfill me, or my soul, my spirit, or my mood. I'd rather have it done by a human with all the tales that come with that. So yeah, it might go underground or out of the mainstream, but I don't think human-made music is going to disappear at all. If anything, is gonna get more successful in a way of following. Sadly, and very likely not more successful as in more income. That ship is probably sailed by now. Ooh, magazines. Jeez, now you dated yourself. No, sorry, I have no patience and or time to read. I mean, I barely read instruction manuals, and only because they're all written as novels instead of actually in information material, as in they should be written like an encyclopedia, by terms, pages, synchronous or succinct articles and FAQs. That's how a gear manual should be. But many are, I mean, you wouldn't believe Roland or early Yamaha, that they have to explain MIDI on every single product they release, because nobody knew shit about MIDI back then. Excuse me. I mean, they're good reads, but that's the most of my reading capabilities. Oh yeah, definitely. Different compressors, different application, totally. Even the recreation, the digital recreations, because now you can hear. God's sake, I can hear the difference between a replica of a distressor and a replica of an LA2A. I can hear the difference. So think about how drastically opposite could the hardware be. Yeah, very easy to overuse compression. Oh, like reverb. Yeah, that's my weak spot. I abuse reverb to the point that now I'm experimenting with double doses of reverb, mostly for human-made music, as in gigs and performances and stuff. Because I think I have this theory that is the best way to give your music three-dimensionality, because that's one of the things I'm lacking most. Is like most of my music sounds flat, and it's not because of lack of panning. Yeah, I abuse the panning like there's no tomorrow, but still sounds flat, as in, oops, in your face. It's like a flat layer just about to touch your nose. But then I did this experiment a couple of times of using an effect reverb on top of an ambience reverb, as in a realistic room-like sounding reverb with a not so realistic, let's call it spring plate, whatever you want to call it, low bit rate, digital, whatever, for specific instruments in that mix. And maybe I had sheer fluke luck, but it suddenly popped. It suddenly became three-dimensional. It was depth to it, to the soundscape. And I'm talking just stereo soundscape. But it suddenly became three-dimensional to me. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Just by doing so, having one, because a very short, usually room reverb as a blanket for everybody, everything, and then a more effective, less real space, less real walls around you type of reverb to give envelope modification to some or different degrees on the different instruments. I think it worked. And tons of compression. Yep. Time for you to go, time for me to go, time for everybody to go and continue with the lives, because on my side is getting close to, yep, 2:30 in the morning, a.m. I keep doing this thing at midnight, thinking on basically Americans, because I keep thinking that they are the ones who are gonna be more likely to follow or be interested. But hey, I don't know. Possibly one day I'll learn. So, if you've done it all the way to here, I salute you, mister. You're a trooper. Because all the interesting bit stopped almost an hour ago. But thank you anyway. I'll see you again. I'm going, wait, here. On... Oh, Holly. Okay. On the 5th of December. Is that a specific? I don't think it's going to be any holiday there, but hey. Friday, 5th of December. Same time. Hopefully not the same place, but there's things I need to sort for that to happen, so don't hold me on that. And also remember, the weekend isn't over for the synth community or the guitar community. So you probably very likely have Synchrotron tomorrow doing his jams with Modular. Definitely tomorrow you're gonna get Synth Geekery from Australia with I would love to be able to call him friend, Rancy, and his jolly good fellows. I don't know if Jake Studio is doing any senior synth chat. in the evening, and a bunch of other things on Sunday I'm sadly not aware. Thank you so much. You've been wonderful. I've been a wreck as usual. Take care and keep playing Synthstar. Night night. And we go.